Episode 216. Today we recap the Orioles series with Just Baseball's Daniel Rotter and preview the upcoming series versus the Washington Nationals. You're listening to the Bucco Bantr podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plates, and in case after case, run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Adam, welcome back to another episode of Bucco Bantr. The Pirates have lost 6 straight after sweeping the mighty Dodgers. Feels like we sold our soul to the Devils. Devils.
Multiple,
whatever. To lose the rest of the season because we're officially going to be under 500 for the year, as if that was in question.
Yeah, I thought that was already in the bag.
It's official. It's officially official, all right?
I was just hoping we can get the 76 wins so we could be the Pittsburgh 76ers again. 3 years running. It's not going to happen.
Deserve that name at all.
I think they have 16 games left around there. They'd have to win 12 of those.
Yeah, ain't happening.
No, not happening.
No.
At all, dude.
You think they get to I want to say they get to 71.
Yeah, 71 seems right.
Yeah, which
seems
is
good.
Big downgrade, but whatever. Hey, man, this is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think there's a lot to be careful here. I think there's a lot to be positive about going into the offseason. Whoa, what did he say? Pitching is the young pitchers are here outside of Hunter Bucco, and I think there's a lot to be optimistic about there. I'm preaching to the choir when I say it all comes down to signing a bat or two in this offseason. I think 3, but I don't want to get too greedy.
Or trade.
I think this is going to be a better free agent class than last year. Last year's best outfield free agent was Tyler O'Neill, and he hasn't done anything for Baltimore. We just talked to Daniel Rotter from Just Baseball. Hasn't been much of a contributor to that Orioles team. I think this free agent class is deeper. It's all about spending money wisely this offseason. And I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say that, but there's going to be a lot of trade candidates. There's going to be a lot of free agent candidates. I think more than last year that we can look at for this team, but I don't want to get our hopes up because as long as Ben Cherington's at the helm, I don't know how much I feel optimistic about the decision-making being for this roster.
Real quick, Scott, remind me, how many guys are in a lineup on any given day? There's 9, right? Okay. Here's the bottom 5 right now that are hitting in the Pirates lineup. Oneil Cruz is hitting 200. This is not counting today, by the way. This is not counting today's stats, which it's probably worse. It's probably below the Mendoza line at this point. Oneil Cruz, 200 with a 682 OPS. Nick York, not a big sample size here, 176 with a 411 OPS.
Yeah.
Cam Devaney, another guy, not a big sample size, 115 with a 302 OPS. G1 Bay is hitting 67. 6'7", and with a 330 OPS. Henry Davis is hitting 161 with a 511 OPS. Now let's go to Oneil Cruz real quick. Since August 1st, and again, this is not counting today because Baseball Reference has not updated. I could have done the math, but I chose not to because it would have been worse than these numbers. So whatever these numbers are, take a couple off of it. Since August 1st, he's hitting 133. Okay, 234 on base, 229 slug with a 463 OPS. He's had 11 hits in over a month, just 11 hits with 31 strikeouts.
Yeah, it's a problem, man.
What do you do? Because as the team's already complicated enough. You talk about adding a bat, right? And you kind of have to bet on the upside of Oneil Cruz. But if he can't put together longer stretches of success where he's hitting 30 home runs, stealing 40 plus bags, and minimizing these stretches, like, it's gone on way too long at this point. So going into next season, it's like, how much do you have to depend on the ceiling of a Neil Cruz? You have to put a lot of stock into it right now because you really don't have a choice.
He's got 2 full seasons under his belt now. I think it's time to have a serious conversation about Oneil Cruz. And I know that's a conversation that a lot of Pirates fans are going to be not willing to have on the surface. But if you dive into these numbers, I'd almost rather have a center fielder that's going to give me league average stats offensively. That's going to be better defensively, because not only is he just very in terms of production in the outfield and center field, he's got athletic ability like no one else, but those outcomes vary big time, right? The offense is not backing it up either. You can't have a guy that is supposed to be the centerpiece of your offense hit 200 with a sub 600 OPS. You just can't. So that's a serious conversation that they're going to have this offseason. And I know I've flirted with the idea of trading him, but
what do you get at this point? Like,
I think you definitely get something for Oneil. Like, he's a young guy who's 6'8", who has unbelievable athleticism and a ceiling that you can dream on. I think you get something for him, especially in the offseason. But they got to really think about how they want this team to be structured next year, because I think that was one of the biggest problems this past offseason. You got him moving to center field, and you did it in the middle of the season last year. And you kind of didn't support him in the corners.
Yeah.
Not kind of, they didn't. So you can't have both. You can't struggle in the corners and up the middle. Up the middle, I would prefer to be a for sure, stop. But you gotta game plan this offseason better than last year's.
So Neil Cruz, his defensive run saved right now is -12.
Yeah. I mean, up the middle, that's why guys up the middle get the most money in the draft and free agency.
Yeah.
That is the most important part of the field. You've got to solidify that part of the field. You just got to. And if you don't, you can't have the outside positions being just as bad, if worse. Like, Brian Reynolds should go into 2020. If you're going to maintain Brian Reynolds on this roster, he needs to be the DH next year.
Yeah, but then you're taking away probably who's been one of your better hitters in Andrew McCutchen. It's a weird situation they put themselves in.
It's a very weird situation, yeah.
We talked about, again, I hate to beat the dead horse, but the puzzle pieces that don't quite fit. You brought back Andrew McCutchen knowing you really can't play him in the field, but in the same turn, he's been one of your better hitters. Like, he's been consistent, right? He's been a good presence. So then you're talking about bringing in more outfielders, more bats that are going to fit positionally well with who you're going to be moving around. It seems simple. In theory, it's like, okay, yeah, all they need to do is just sign some bats, but the defense also isn't great too. Like, you need a third baseman, right? You need a corner outfielder.
Oh, whoa. Third base. You got Jared Triolo. Come on now.
Yeah, you're right.
All right.
You're right. I'll take a step back. Let's briefly talk about this Orioles series. We're going to recap it a little bit differently at the end of the show with Daniel Rotter, who covers the Orioles for Just Baseball. Struck out 31 times in 3 games, Scott. Mm-hmm. As I just mentioned, the bottom of the order has been bad. They lost every single game by 1 run, 2 of them in walk-off fashion. Not anything spectacular, but it was just classic Pirates baseball. Like, you're going to just show a perfect example of what the season has been. It's 2 runs, good pitching, lose the game by 1. That's about it.
You got 5 hits the first game, 2 hits the second game. Skeens pitched spectacular. Majeski looked good in relief. Matson gave up 1 run, which was a blown save. But, you should be hitting enough to, this has been the story of the season, right? I didn't think they faced anyone super overpowering in game 2, especially. Like, Tyler Wells can sequence and can spot you up. Kyle Bradish is the guy I thought we'd struggle with even more. but it seemed to be Tyler Wells in game 2.
All right. Joining us now on Bucco Banter to recap the Baltimore Orioles series is Just Baseball's very own Daniel Rotter. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you both for having me on Bucco Banter. I'm real excited to discuss our recent series that we had here. It was cool to meet you guys when we met in spring training in Florida. I was at the park, saw you guys with the Just Baseball hats. I was like, hey, I'm Just Baseball too. How's it going?
Look at us now, man. We're all wearing the Just Baseball hats on the pod. But hey, man, Dan the Man, welcome on. It was nice getting to meet you down in Bradenton. I'm sure we'll probably cross paths again soon. But this series, the Pirates didn't play the Orioles until later on in the season this year. I'm pretty sure we opened with them next year at home.
Yeah,
and we opened with them at home 2 years ago. So usually see them a little bit earlier. 4-hour drive, not too far. I love Camden Yards. Would have loved to go on to this series, but let's talk about this series real quick. 3 one-run games. The Orioles swept. Pitching looked pretty solid on both sides for the most part. What was your biggest takeaway here these past 3 days?
Man, I feel like the biggest takeaway has just been how the narrative of the Orioles' strengths has seemed to be completely turned on its head over this past month or so, because all we've been hearing about the Orioles is the juggernaut offense and the lack of pitching. And suddenly, after selling off the majority of the pitching, especially the bullpen at the trade deadline, they've been the best bullpen in the league in September. And I mean, how many hitters on this team have regressed? I know the Pirates have great pitching, but it has been a trend for more than just this series that the offense has not exactly been as explosive as many expected.
Right. Well, what about let's shift to the pitching then, because I mean, you just mentioned it's kind of been flipped around. Tyler Wells looked really good on what was that, Wednesday's game?
Yes,
and a guy that's been perpetually injured his entire career. Is that something to be excited about, to see that type of start from a guy who goes 6 2/3, 1 hit? I know it's against the Pirates, but how is Baltimore feeling about him?
I think the vision with Tyler Wells is hopefully he can develop into sort of a back-end starter. Like, he really does have the build of a guy who looks like an impact pitcher. He's a big, tall guy, but he really doesn't throw that hard. He's more of a command-oriented pitcher. He usually, over his career, has done well against offenses that are less strong and kind of struggles against those better teams. So this has kind of seemed pretty par for the course with him as far as the start goes. Like, I personally streamed him in one of my fantasy leagues in the playoffs just because I view Tyler Wells as a, pick your matchup kind of pitcher against teams that, are not as strong offensively. He usually will give you at least 5 innings of decent baseball, but he has gotten knocked around because he doesn't really have high-end velo against better offenses.
Yeah, absolutely. He kind of reminds me a little bit. Maybe this is a really bad comparison, but I'm trying to relate it to the Pirates. Bailey Falter in a way from the right side, because Bailey Falter is a guy who wasn't going to overpower you, but like through sequencing and command, like he could, nibble and be deceptive and be kind of a pest and give you 5 good innings. And he's a guy that could probably be a long man or a back end rotation starter. So I've liked what I've seen from Tyler Wells. And you guys also got back Kyle Bradish recently, but how about Grayson Rodriguez? This is a guy that, when Corbin Burns left, you're like, he needs to step up and be the ace, and hasn't pitched. What's the story there?
Well, I certainly have some thoughts. I mean, I can tell you I wrote a story for Just Baseball preseason about who will be the Orioles' next ace. I went through some potential free agent options, and I kind of landed on it. The most feasible option for that is Grayson Rodriguez. He has the stuff. He has the makeup to take that ace sort of leap. But you speak of guys whose careers have just been derailed by injuries. Like, it's nonstop with him. He's injured most seasons he's been a professional. And this year, it was just almost inexplicable how little we were updated on his status, because he made his last start, I think, at the beginning of July 2024. Then he went out with a lat injury and missed the remainder of the season. Then all off season, we're expecting him to be ready for spring training. Right as spring training starts, they say, oh, nope, the arm's not good. And then the lat was still flaring up, so they shut him down, I think, into May. And then he starts throwing bullpens again in June, never made it on a rehab assignment or anything, and he gets shut down again. And, hopefully he's ready for 2026. It's hard to say exactly what the timeline is on a guy who hasn't pitched in a game in 14 months and isn't throwing right now. So hopefully he'll be able to pitch as a starter for this team in any capacity next year. Whether he's an ace or not, that remains to be seen, but it feels more and more unlikely as the months go by without him throwing.
Right. I mean, the stuff is definitely there. Scott and I have seen him pitch a couple of times down in spring training. The ball just absolutely pops out of the hand. But what do the Orioles need to do? We talked a little bit before we went on the recording about potential trade candidates and the Pirates and the Orioles potentially having a marriage there. And you relayed like, hey, like they're not really willing to give up like too much. And it's kind of the same with the Pirates too. They prospect hug a little bit, and it's worked out a little bit better for the Orioles in recent memory. I know your guys haven't been performing to their max capability this year, but what's the next move that the Orioles need to do, at least in your mind, in order to either add to that pitching staff or get these guys hitting on the level that they should be?
I think it's hard to want to invest too much in the hitting from outside of the organization because, like we've been saying, they have put so much stock into these young guys. They've accumulated so many of them. And even though some of them haven't been working out, like, what's the point in blocking them even further when guys like Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo seem to be messed up in the head because they've been blocked when they've been ready for so long now? Like, they've both, I mean, their prospect status in their career seem to be a bit derailed at the moment. I know Mayo's still very early along in his career, but I mean, it's safe to say I think that these guys need another chance. And the team does still have Tyler O'Neill, even though he's been injured for much of the season, but he signed a 3-year contract this offseason, so he'll be around. I don't see him opting out of another guaranteed $32 million for the next 2 years, even though he does have an opt-out this year. So I think the trade has to come on the pitching side. I like Kyle Bradish a lot, and he's pitched like a 2 or a 3 the past couple of years. So I think that we can definitely lean on that. And there have been, some solid options. Trevor Rogers has suddenly become one of the best pitchers in baseball. I'm not sure I believe that, you can count on him to be an ace next year, but he seems like a guy who's a lock for the rotation for sure. I think this team, if they're serious about being a real playoff contender, they need to trade for an impact arm of some sort who's going to be able to, start a playoff game for you. And I don't necessarily know where that's going to come from, because how many teams show up to the winter meetings willing to trade that sort of guy, especially when the winter meetings happen. Most teams view themselves as kind of trying to retool and win sooner, whereas at the trade deadline, I feel like they're a bit more willing to kind of forfeit the year, sell off a good asset for a big return. But if you're selling off big assets at the winter meetings, what kind of message does that tell your fan base? You're basically saying, okay, I'm content with being bad now for at least this year, if we're already basically giving up on the season now. So it's just hard for me to imagine that the Orioles are going to get this sort of guy that's going to elevate them back to being, AL pennant contender. I just don't know what the route is or who that player is going to be that gets them to that level again, because, I mean, this team has looked like a far cry from what they were in 2023.
I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for an organization to roll those guys out there every day, right? The season hasn't gone the way you wanted to, so just give all the at-bats to Kjerstad, give it to Mayo, give it to Basayo, give it to the young guys that you think could be a part of this next team. This was why we were very stunned by our trade deadline, because there are guys in AAA for the Pirates, and most of the bats are in the lower levels, but you got guys like Nick York that you traded for. You've got guys that they traded for Cam Devaney, who's an older prospect, but still, you traded for him, so might as well see what you got with him. You got guys in AAA that you might as well have them come up, but they didn't trade their expiring contracts. So those guys were on the roster for most of August, which made no sense to us. So this is the perfect opportunity for the Orioles to run those guys out there every day. Let's think about a trade, because last year the Pirates and the Orioles connected on a minor league trade. Billy Cook for Patrick Riley. Patrick Riley was an arm that we were high on out of Vandy, command being the only thing stopping him from probably being in a rotation someday. I don't know how he's done this year. I haven't really followed him, but I feel like there's another trade, maybe even more impactful, that could put that could be beneficial for both teams. Maybe a Jared Jones. You talk about an impact arm for a bat. One guy I've really liked, and I know you guys probably don't want to part with him right now. Watching this series, I didn't get to watch today, but Dylan Beavers is someone I think is vastly underrated.
Honestly, I think that trade is intriguing from an Oriole fan perspective as well. And as far as Riley goes, by the way, I think he got Tommy John surgery. I think he's done for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
That's sad.
But the Orioles do have some names in their outfield already, especially if, I mean, we haven't gotten an update on Heston Kjerstad in a long time, but maybe he'll play again. I don't know. He's been out in AAA for unknown reasons that the organization has not clarified. But you look at the names in the outfield, they have Cowser, they have O'Neill, and then they have, some prospects on the way up as well. They have Enrique Bradfield, who I'm not as high on as most, but a lot of people think he'll, be an amazing defensive center fielder. Whether he hits or not is the question. And Dylan Beavers, I think, definitely seems more hit over power. Like, you watch him swing, it almost looks like he's slowing down his swing mid-swing. Like, his follow-through stops so soon. But he put up great numbers in the minor leagues. I could see why he would be intriguing to other teams. I think he's making his way onto a lot of top 100 lists now just because he's kind of stat compiled his way there in AAA. So as far as Jared
college,
Jones
it was
goes,
opposite though, right? Wasn't it power over hit? Like, there was holes in his swing. They didn't know if he was going to make enough contact.
Yeah, and I just don't know how, I guess, necessarily that swing right now translates to a lot of power. It just looks very unorthodox, and that's kind of, I think, a similar problem that they've run into with Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo. These unorthodox swings haven't quite panned out into major league impact power hitters. But Jared Jones, I know the injuries have been there for him, but he seems like the kind of, high caliber arm with good velo that I would be really excited about the Orioles adding, because he looked very good last year.
Yeah, it's just going to depend how he comes back from his surgery and when he's going to be ready. They're going to want to get him some innings before next year. Going into next year for the Orioles, before we wrap this up, you got Rutschman, who obviously hasn't had a great year. Then you got Basayo, who's come up, who looks awesome with the bat. How do you see them splitting time? Is Basayo going to play a lot of first base? Is he going to catch 30% of the time? What's that going to look like?
Yeah, well, Basayo got the guaranteed money now, so it's absolutely certain that he's going to stick around on the roster next year, and they're going to play him. I know a lot of people want to throw Adley's names around in trade talks. I find that very unlikely. I think that he is one of the faces of the franchise, and I think that their organization will get a lot of flack for moving him with a couple of years left when we're trying to win. So I think both Rutschman and Basayo will be there. Rutschman will probably have the larger share of playing catcher over Basayo, like you said. But I think first base is really where something has to get figured out, because Basayo has already played a couple games at first base this season, so it's clear they view him as, sort of a backup option there. And the team has Ryan Mountcastle, who's an expiring free agent after next season, and Kobe Mayo, who struggled this year. So it kind of seems like one of them needs to be moved. I mean, I don't think Mountcastle has much value because he missed a lot of the season and he struggled this year. He has, top tier bat speed, but it hasn't really translated to top tier power production for most of his career. So, I mean, he could be a flyer. Like, I'd be surprised if he gets non-tendered, but I also don't think he gets much in a trade. And then as far as Mayo goes, I mean, if they traded him in, spring training or in this past offseason, I mean, you're getting a hugely impactful player for him. But now that he's hitting 180 in the majors in, I don't know, 150 at-bats. I don't even know how many at-bats he's at. I'd have to look that up. But, I mean, he's really struggled. He has a very awkward-looking swing with, like, a kind of a big, like, shoulder drop and bat hitch in the swing that looks like it's slowing him down. I mean, he's got a great build, but, is he the kind of guy that they think maybe they get more for in a deal and they just kind of keep Mountcastle around as the primary first baseman? It's definitely a puzzle that the Orioles will need to solve, because there's just not room to play the four of them enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Mountcastle was a name we had crossed on our list as a potential trade candidate for the Pirates, because we haven't had a first baseman in forever. But thinking about a Horwitz Mountcastle platoon at first base, which sounds disgusting but awesome at the same time, because they reverse splits are just perfect, would be awesome. Maybe a Ryan Mountcastle for a Thomas Harrington or some kind of flyer arm at the top levels of our system. We've got a few of them. So, Dan, thanks for joining us, man. This was fun. We'll definitely have to do something more longer form in the offseason, talk Orioles Pirates, because I think there's going to be a relationship made here between these two clubs in the offseason. It just makes too much sense at this point. So thanks for joining us. And I'm not going to congratulate you on the sweep because I'm salty about it, but best of luck rest of the season.
And
thank you guys.
Before we let you go, where can everybody find your work?
Yeah, so you all can find me on X at drot_6. I'm writing for justbaseball.com. Orioles and otherwise. I do a lot of just general baseball coverage. I'm also a co-host of the Baltimore Birdwatchers pod on Eutaw Street Report. So yeah, that's where you can find what I'm working on. And again, you don't have to congratulate me because we'll both be in the MLB draft lottery together. So we'll see you all there.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks. Tyler Wells, by the way, I mentioned it with Roder, went perfect through 3.
Yeah.
In this one. He hasn't done that in 3+ years. He's been hurt all the time. Just 8 whiffs through 3 innings. Like, just not even just simply putting the ball in play. Like, just not competitive at bats at all. We got 2 more home series, Scott. You got the Nationals this weekend, 2 more home series, and they hit the road, and then it's done. And part of me is excited about that because then we could start focusing on the offseason and trying to fix what is broken right now. But man, you're right. It's like they sold out to the Dodgers, so it could just go back to that's sick. It's sick behavior. It's bad for us.
Yeah, it is sick behavior for sure. But we got
Not
the
good.
Nationals coming up, and the Nationals are one team that have been worse than us. I was actually high on this team coming into the season because I thought they had a lot of young pieces like James Wood that we don't have, right? And it hasn't gone their way this year in the NL East, especially in a year where the Braves underperformed. A lot of teams have underperformed. I think everyone has kind of regressed. I think the Phillies have regressed a little bit, and the Mets have regressed a little bit. The Marlins are the only team that has shown improvement in this division. I thought this was a year where the Nationals could surprise somebody and finish 3rd, but they didn't. And that's who we face this week. They're 60-85, 5th in the NL Central or NL East heading into this series.
Before we get into the pitching matchups, make sure you go to tseshop.com for all of your Pittsburgh sports memorabilia needs. Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, whatever you need for your office, bedroom, living room, they have it for you. Total Sports Enterprises is the go-to move for all your Pittsburgh sports memorabilia. tseshop.com. Go to the link below to let them know Bucco Bantr sent you. Scott, Friday, they're going to face left-handed pitcher Andrew Alvarez versus Mitch Keller. Alvarez this year is 1-0 with an 1.86 ERA and 9 2/3 innings pitched. 2 games, 6 Ks with a 9.3 WHIP. The Arsenal 4-seam curve, slider, change, sinker, polished pitchability lefty who can attack the zone and change speeds. Lacks a true plus pitch but keeps hitters uncomfortable with sequencing and location, which brings us to Saturday.
I'm excited for this matchup. As of right now, would be Cade Cavalli versus Bubba Chandler if he gets his second start. That hasn't been announced, but Cade Cavalli this year coming back from TJ, 3-1 with a 4.67 ERA and 34 2/3 innings pitched, 7 games, 29 Ks and a 1.47 WHIP. This is a big righty, 6'4", 240 Oklahoma boy who's drafted first round at the University of Oklahoma. Throws a curve and 4-seam 31% of the time. He's increased that curve usage. That's his big off-speed pitch. Throws it in the mid to high 80s. The 4-seam sits 97.1. Big fastball here. We'll also mix in a sinker, change, and cutter. The cutter sits 94, 95. He's got a power arsenal with multiple potential plus pitches. True frontline starter ceiling if he can stay healthy and throw strikes. Generates strikeouts at a high clip, capable of overpowering hitters. This is a guy that could be a frontline starter for the Nationals. It's just all a matter of staying healthy.
And then Sunday, left-handed pitcher Mitchell Parker versus Mike Burrows. This year, Parker is 8-15 with a 5.69 ERA and 153 1/3 innings pitched, 29 games, 100 strikeouts with a 1.44 WHIP. Versus the Pirates this year, back in April, he went 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 6 Ks. Davis hit a home run in a 6-1 Pirates win. The Arsenal is a 4-seam at 55% of the time, sits about 93 miles per hour. Then you got a curveball, slider, and a split. Plus splitter gives him legitimate put-away weapon. Fastball lacks elite velocity, as I just mentioned, around low 90s. Needs command and sequencing to succeed at higher levels. And the breaking balls are serviceable, but not dominant. So, as you mentioned, a young Nationals team that has a lot of potential. You haven't seen it out of Dylan Cruz yet. CJ Abrams is just teetering that line always. James Wood is awesome, but overall a disappointing year, but a very winnable series for the Pirates.
I'm just glad we're not going to Nationals Park because
What a bad place.
One of our least favorite ballparks that we've been to together. I love Camden Yards, so I wish we could have made that work, or I wish it was on the weekend, because that would have been a fun trip to go down to. But yeah, the Pirates go to Washington, and they come back this coming week against the Cubs and A's. Before we close up, Adam, I just want to plug real quick. This weekend is a Clemente fundraiser on the Clemente Bridge. Come out. We're going to be there Saturday during the day. I think it's 3 to 7. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening there on the Clemente Bridge. Dwayne Reeder has become a good friend of ours. He runs the Clemente Museum. Come support the museum, man. It's a $21 donation, and there's going to be a lot of vendors there. It's going to be a good time to celebrate the Clemente week. Yeah, I think Clemente Day is coming up the 16th, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. That'll be the Cubs series.
Yep.
So looking forward to it. Really, really cool event. As you mentioned, a lot of cool vendors. And if you haven't gone to the museum and you're in the Pittsburgh area, 100% go. You could book a tour. Is it $21?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's one of the most unique places you could go in Pittsburgh. I think it's truly a hidden gem, like all around. It's an incredible place. Opposing teams go there all the time when they come in. So a lot of history that goes through that museum. Scott Goodep, I will see you probably today. Later on. We got more stuff coming with Bucco Bantr, things planned for the offseason that we're working on. If you don't already, make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe at Bucco Bantr, share it, like it, leave a comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. Go to wherever you listen, leave a 5-star review, a comment, download the episodes, and then go to buccobantr.com, get all your merch. If you're on social media, go follow us on Instagram. That means a lot. We're really trying to build up the social media platform, especially Instagram. So all the engagement we get, the better it is for content, the more that we can put out and try and just feed that algorithm with everything you need when it comes to Pittsburgh Pirates, Major League Baseball, whatever you're looking for. We're trying to make sure that you guys are satisfied when you're supporting us, right? We want to make sure everybody's happy here. So appreciate you listening. And until next time, raise it.
Raise it.
Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates. And